Hi everyone, it's Sonia McDonald here, and welcome today to my presentation around how to be a great leader and how to lead different generations. As you know, we are at Leadership HQ super passionate about great leadership, and I have been speaking across the globe about how to build a world of great leaders, right? And it starts with us, and it also starts with how we lead our future generations. Now, I'm Generation X, and so therefore I'm seeing the world through my lens as a Generation X. However, I want you to think about, like, I think some of the greatest challenges that I'm hearing from so many people that we coach and I meet at events and conferences, and we have in our leadership program, so many people are coming up to us going, oh, how do we lead these future generations? It's really important we lead our future generations, because they're going to be, not only are they our leaders of today, but they're going to be our leaders of tomorrow. So it's up to us to lead our future generations. So if you think about generational differences, and obviously there's baby boomers, Generation X like myself, there's Generation Y, the millennials, there's Generation Z. Generation differences definitely show up in and how we think, behave, and act. I've just got some notes here because I've been doing lots and lots of research about this, particularly this year, around generational differences. And I mean, as humans, we're like a product of all our life experiences, events, our expectations. And there's definitely, if I see myself as a Generation X, I kind of see around how we have grown up in terms of our life journey. We have had different experiences to the baby boomers, but also to the future generations that we see. So if you'd love to get involved and you'd love to comment, please comment, share your thoughts, because I'd love to know what you think about today's presentation. In particular, when we think about generational differences, how do they show up? And I want you to think about those different people in your lives. And what are you seeing? What are you seeing are the differences? What differences are you noticing? Please let me know, and please comment while you're watching this. Now, you know that this is something I'm super passionate about, is leadership. What is leadership? Look, I think we've made leadership bigger than what it is. I think that sometimes you look at this word leadership and we definitely think that it's about a role or title. And it's definitely not about a role or title. Leadership is, if I go into this, is a mindset, and it's an attitude. It's all about our actions. And I think it is an attitude. It's absolutely an attitude. And let's not make leadership bigger than what it is, right? Because the thing is, if we have an attitude and a mindset about leadership, and however you define leadership, let me know how. Write to us, comment. How do you define leadership through your lens? What is it? To me, it's about how we can help each other learn more, do more, be more, achieve more. Leadership is about serving others. That's how I see leadership. And if I think about, in particular, I'm super passionate about our generations of tomorrow, is that we need to set the example today, right? So it's really up to us to set the example. And that's why I wanted to jump on and have this conversation with you around how we can do that, right? And if I think about what great leadership is and what kind of words that how you would define great leadership, gosh, there's so many things. Like, I mean, the thing is with great leadership, and the thing is with leadership, and I do this little exercise as I get people to write down how or what they see or how they would define leadership, and it's kind of, some people say it's indefinable, but you know it when you see it, is that so many people don't see themselves as leaders. And for those that are watching today, I really would love you to see yourself as a leader. And I want you to think about what makes a leader. How would you define leadership? How, when you see a leader, what are they doing? And to me, there's things like, there's integrity, there's adaptability. Okay, so obviously leading by example, staying true to your principles, being adaptable, being resilient, I think is more important today than ever before. Things like communication, being a great communicator, which is so key now when it comes to leading our generations of today and tomorrow. Self-awareness. I always say to people that if you want to be a great leader, and a great humans start with self-awareness. Self-awareness is so key, because the more you know about yourself, the more you'll know about others. Gratitude, being truly thankful, and showing that you really care and you're really grateful for the people around you and how you can serve them and help them. Having learning agility, I think, is like embracing change. Having a growth mindset is so important, which I am absolutely seeing in our generations, our future generations. That ability to influence, lead change, bring people on the journey. Obviously, I'm really passionate about this word empathy. Empathy, kindness, putting yourself in their shoes, courage. I think everything starts with courage, having that respect. Particularly, I think when it comes to inclusive leadership, right? Like having that respect for the different generations. And also, finally, because we're all different, and I think that respect is everything, humility, being super humble, admitting mistakes. Look, there's plenty of other words. Let's kind of explore. Tell me what other words resonate to you when you think about what makes a great leader. The thing is, right, if you think about, I wonder if I can really look at some of these words and where are my superpowers in some of these areas? Like for me, integrity is everything. I really embrace gratitude and self-awareness. I've got a huge growth mindset. I am so passionate about this word empathy. And I love courage, because that's all about what my value sets are, is courage and kindness. So I tend to focus on two things around who do I want to be and what do I want to stand for. And I think that's really, really important. So, and also at the end of the day, can I tell you what leadership is about? Is this impact. I think if you don't make it bigger than what it is and go, how can I each day make an impact, no matter how big or small, because the smallest, the tiny tweaks can make the biggest changes. I think that's really, really important. And also I think if we want to be really great at leading our future generations, it's also about us being great leaders and leading by example, but it's also, I think, leading the future generations with empathy. Now, I've got a Generation X. Sorry, no, I'm a Generation X. I've got a Generation Z in my life, my daughter. And I don't know about you, right? I just think about how I grew up. So I want you to think about, if you're whatever generation you are, think about how you grew up in your childhood. When I grew up, it was very much around, I would ride up to the shops without a helmet. I would drink water out of the hose. What else would I do? I would catch the bus on my own, which I couldn't believe, when I think I was like 12, just to go up to the shops and things. And when I came home, that was it. Like I came home from school, and whatever was going on for me at school, and believe you me, I got teased at school. Whatever was going on for me at school, at least I could come home and lock the door, and I didn't have to deal with it after school. I definitely didn't have access to social media or a mobile phone or any of those things that our youth have today. And I definitely didn't have my kind of exposure to the world, or my youth to what was going on in the world. So I think our generations after that, the Generation Ys and millennials have really kind of been brought up with, understanding the different kind of like what's going on in the world with social media. That's kind of good, but it's also not so good. I don't know if I could grow up in that generation today. But if you think about it, I just wanted to share some stuff around this. This is why leading the future with empathy is really important, because I think if you think of all the generations and what they've had to go through, whether it's the Great Recession or the Great Depression or technology or things like that today, baby boomers are kind of defined as workaholics. They're more team orientated. They're really much more around hierarchy and loyalty and duty. Hence, I think sometimes they might struggle with the fact that, the future generations have, they move around in jobs and roles and those sort of things more often. Generation X is more around that flexibility, having independence, loving that informal work environments, really embracing personal development, which I can kind of see in myself. The millennials are more around purpose driven. They're more civic minded. They're more growth, have more of a growth mindset. They're more like real time feedback. They love work life balance, right? I can definitely see that in the millennials. And then you get to the Gen Zs, which, if I think about my daughter, she totally epitomizes this. It's the activist generation, very highly purpose driven. They're very motivated by diversity, creativity, individuality. They're self-directed, they're self-aware, and they're definitely values-driven as well. So I think it's really interesting seeing like the differences between the generations. I don't know while I'm talking about this, whether you are actually seeing this or witnessing this, if you think about the generations in your life. The thing is, right, I think we've got to embrace each of the generations and their different perspectives, because different perspectives means innovation, and also around how we can lead with empathy and look at what's important to them, particularly the individuality, the work-life balance, the flexibility, and also that the fact that they really want to grow and learn. So it's really up to us to invest in that mentorship, that coaching, look for opportunities for them to grow, look for opportunities for retention. I think that's really important, because if you think about then and now, right, if you think about, it was kind of the old school approach of leadership. I still see a little bit of this now around more of a, I can see that it's definitely evolving, more of that directive style of leadership, more of that fear-based leadership. I'm seeing really now today, which is great, and something, it's having to change our perspective and mindsets around this, around more of that empathy and compassion when it comes to leadership, more of that support. And look, I think we have to, in terms of what's going on around the world, and definitely I think COVID's played a part in this, is we have to think about adapting our style and looking at and understanding the needs of our future generations, particularly those Gen Zs and millennials that are coming up, those Gen Ys. Really interesting sort of some data, the quit rate. In February 2020, the highest in Australia in over a decade. Really interesting, 9.5%. Now is the time now for us to have a new leadership model based on empathy and compassion. I think that's going to be key. I don't know if you've heard of this great resignation and quiet quitting. I think it's more the great reshuffle, to be honest. But, people are really now, and I'm hearing it and seeing it around, I don't know if I want to stay in this career, or I don't know if I want to stay in this organization. I think I might even want to do something completely different. And also, I think our future generations are able to have more ways of working more so than ever. Then I think they're able to make income through things like Uber and Airtasker and those kind of platforms as well, which it's really interesting to see that they're more open to not relying on one source of income or that traditional 9-to-5 job, is that they can be more innovative and they can actually now, make incomes or have fun ways to make incomes, not relying on traditional employment, which is so interesting. Also, you might find this really interesting as well, that 58% of our future generations, like in terms of employees now, I'm sure you're not shocked by this, and I think COVID had a lot to do with this, but I still saw pre-COVID that they were really into this, like really, really passionate about this. Work-life balance meant more to them than a well-paid job. I'm definitely seeing that. I'm also seeing that not only is balance, is growth, like what growth opportunities are out there, in terms of what you can be doing as well, is really, really important. Also, okay, sorry, someone was posting something not very nice on this webinar as a comment, so that's okay. I've just blocked them. The next thing I want to talk to you about is, I definitely see, if you want to be a great leader and if you want to be able to lead your future generations with greatness, it's with values and with compassion. All the research that I've been doing, particularly in the last few months, I've really seen a shift and I've always been very much around values because I think values drive behavior, is I think that values-based leadership, or understanding the values of our future generations, in particular Generation Z is very passionate about this. They're very much more cognizant of what you stand for as an organization, what are your values, how you make a difference to the world. Are you sustainable? Are you living and breathing your values? I see a huge shift in that. I also see that with this, that kind of also that compassionate space. I think if we put ourselves in their shoes, particularly, your Gen Zs and your Ys and millennials, right? And what they like, again, as I've mentioned before, I'm a Gen Z X, and I don't know how I would have grown up with social media. I mean, I'm sure I would have adapted to it, but I think that they've been exposed to so many different challenges, adversities, information, in terms of like, I just see the challenges and the things, and also that obviously I've had firsthand experience with mental health when it comes to Gen Z, around like their challenges are exponential in terms of what I had to deal with at their age. And I think if I put myself in their shoes, I kind of look at their courage and look at, their life events and their expectations. And this is why I think empathy and compassion for kind of how they have evolved in those different generations and who they are today is something that we really need to have empathy for, and also really need to respect. I think that if we can lead employees or lead our future generations with values-based leadership and also with compassion, that would make such a difference to our future generations. If we know and lead our values and lead the organization's values, that is key. If we know who we are and what we stand for as leaders, and we lead that is key. If we lead with kindness and compassion and empathy for our future generations, you will see increase in loyalty, productivity. This is so linked to the employee's bottom line, and it's so much more important to our future generations than it ever has been before, right? So important. I think that absolutely values-driven leadership and empathy and compassion are the keys to success. And look, and sometimes I think it can be really challenging, and I get it. Like, I'm sure, like, if I think about the generations before me, the traditionalists and the baby boomers, I'm sure they're frustrated with us, as well as Gen X. As sometimes I think maybe we look at the generations coming, before us, we're getting frustrated as well. So, but the thing is, right, everyone is different, regardless of all the generational differences. Everyone is different. I think it's that embracing, showing that inclusive leadership, embracing what makes them different, and having that empathy and being curious can be so important. I love this quote: with compassion, one becomes courageous. Compassion brings triumph when attacked, and it brings security when maintained. Compassion is everything. Look, I know when my daughter was struggling with a lot of things as a Gen Z, I think a real shift, as much as I used to go, I don't understand like your perspective on the world, and I don't understand your drivers and your values and your motivators. And the more that I was curious and compassionate, it really changed the frame, or that it changed my way of looking at the world, and also how excited I was about our future generations as well. Because if you think about it, our future generations are also going to be our future leaders. They're going to be the future leaders of our companies. So investing in their development, putting yourself in their shoes, all these things I think are really, really important, because we've got to set them up for success for the future. I think that's like fundamental. We've also, I think, as I mentioned before, we've got to acknowledge the unique perspective, because they have grown up in a world vastly different to the one that us today, like as a Gen X, or if you're watching or listening to this, you go, okay, I totally get it. And as a leader, we must acknowledge this and try to think about and try to see things from their perspective as well. I think that's really key. In saying that, we still need to be able to coach them around also understanding our perspectives as well. So it's that curiosity, and understanding how they see the world, because their growth mindset and their way of learning is different, has been different to ours. In particular, I think being patient. Oh man, I've been impatient sometimes, and sometimes it can be really challenging to be patient when you kind of going, wow, like, and I get it, there's certain things my parents and my grandparents used to say to me when I was little, and I look back now going, I know that they were just doing the right thing. And actually, at the time, I was like looking at them thinking, I don't understand the perspective. But now here I am today going, I actually do understand their perspective, so I get it. So patience, I think, is really important. Explain things so they can understand learning new tasks and concepts. I think we need to be patient with some of these things, because I think as well, our future generations have been so used to learning things and getting information very, very quickly, because they've just had to Google it. Whereas I don't know if you had back, I mean, maybe I'm showing my age here, like, was it the encyclopedias that we had? So we had to go and read things and go to the library and look things up. Whereas today it's so easy and so quick to access things. So that's really important. I think also we need to encourage open communication. We need to create an environment where they feel comfortable where they're talking to you. This is where inclusive leadership is important. And also, this is a bit of a challenge, because I have noticed that the future generations in particular have communicated so much through like Messenger or Snapchat or SMS and things like that. So being able to actually coach them around open communication, talking a lot more face to face, I think is really key. So I think if we're really wanting to lead with greatness with our future generations, that's something we need to be espousing a lot more as well. So encouraging open communication, because as I said, they love this kind of communication, mostly online or through this silly little device we call an iPhone, which can be a great asset, but also a bit of a burden. But they're also used to short, concise messages. So I think it's important that if we are communicating, however we're communicating, that you keep it to the point. Yeah, look, and I'm sure you're probably watching this thinking that, look, this could be applied to anyone, and also depending on different behavioral styles and things like that. I have definitely met and worked with Gen Zs and millennials that do like more of context and stories, or the why behind things. So again, you just have to adapt your communication. But yeah, I think it is important that you do keep it concise and with short messages. Also, I think enabling collaboration. Look, I see it and I love it. Look, every time I have any of these future generations in any of my workshops, they thrive on collaboration. They thrive on working together on projects. They love team building activities. It's something they get a lot of energy from. So, and look, I think collaboration is key. And I think I know it's sometimes I think it is challenging, because we are working so much more remotely and virtually. So thinking about ways you can still get people collaborating and working together, even if you are remote, it's really, really important. Because it's really important that we're constantly keeping them engaged. So providing career conversations, setting small goals, offering rewards and alignment to the values. I'm all around values-based reward and recognition. I'm constantly talking to my team around how great they are in terms of our values around empowering others, sharing wisdom, kindness and courage. So these things I think are really important. So again, alignment to your value. If you don't have values as a company, or if you don't know individual values, reach out to us at Leadership HQ. We've got some great values tools that are free. But if you don't know your values, I think values are kind of your mission, vision, and values are kind of like, I think they're kind of the center pole of culture, right? I think that, and you lead those. And the future generations, particularly Gen Zs and millennials, are really passionate about what are your values. So yeah, that's something you need to think about as well. Also, love this slide because it's I mean, it's a bit hard to read actually, but being flexible, being open to trying new things. Like I find sometimes my team, and I think I create an environment where there's a lot of psychological safety. I think it's really important that you are keeping an approachable, open mindset. You're flexible, you're open to suggestions and try and asking for ideas as well. And you're willing. I've just brought on someone to manage our social media. She's a Gen Z, and some of the ideas she comes up with, and I'm just like, yeah, just come to, like, I'm not prescriptive. I mean, she's so great with feedback. She loves feedback, but it's those sort of things that are like really important around willing to try new things and seeing from their perspective what they know of the world. And oh, she's been brilliant. Like some of the stuff that she's come up with, I've like didn't even know that existed. So that flexibility is really important. And I think also being authentic. Hey, people kind of go, aren't we always authentic? Sometimes I think we can put masks up. I do see this in the work that we do. Uh, just be authentic, be real, admit when you make mistakes, be transparent and genuine and honest. Don't try to sell them something that you don't believe in yourself or you wouldn't buy yourself. I think that's really important. So definitely be authentic. Providing regular feedback. This one's always a tough one. I think it's always really important to be open to feedback. Is the only way, and they love learning, the only way they're going to learn is by providing them regular feedback. So encouraging, their creativity in person. I think this will help them stay on track, continuously to continue to improve as well. So yeah, I think it's providing, really encouraging creativity, innovation, suggestions, providing regular feedback, collaboration. These things are really important, and setting achievable goals and providing support. I'm surprised at how many teams and organization we work with that don't really have any kind of achievable goals or even KPIs. So I think this is really important, and also providing support and checking in. As I mentioned before, like getting to the point quickly, avoiding long-winded explanations, because again, they love to be concise in their communications. Here's some don'ts when it comes to leading some teams, like things like ignoring their input, being condescending or negative, micromanaging. I think these things, you just have to be really cognizant of like these things around some don'ts around leading people, being inflexible. I just think there's just so many things you've got to think about. Being afraid of change. These things I think you've got to like really think about. There's some don'ts around leading our future generations that I think are really important, because at the end of the day, I mean, the future is for everyone, not far, it's just tomorrow. So I want you to really invest and celebrate in your people, whether it's older workers, younger workers, mums, dads, students. I think the key to it is definitely, again, as I mentioned, investing in your leadership development, in coaching, and their leadership and development and coaching, being inclusive in your leadership, because I think the more you invest in them and understand their perspectives, the more you'll get out of it. So I think it's really important that we make up a beautiful and diverse world, and by embracing those different perspectives, that would make a huge difference to who we are as leaders. I'd love to know what your actions are. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about what I've spoken about today, send me through your learnings or actions. You can email them to us at sonia@leadershiphq.com.au. You can make a comment here. And then we're going to choose like 3 amazing actions. We'll send you a copy of one of my books. So please write to me and let me know like 3 actions. I'd love that. And then, think about, again, empathy, compassion, and putting yourselves in their shoes, right? I think they're really important. And if there's anything we can do to help you at Leadership HQ around how to be a great leader and also how to lead our future generations, please reach out to us. If you're interested in any keynote speaking, coaching, leadership programs, cultural transformation, team workshops, we're about to launch an amazing certification, nominate on our leadership awards, which are all about inclusive and courageous leadership. But thank you so much for listening today. And if there's anything we can do to help you at Leadership HQ, please reach out to us. And we look forward to continuing on doing these great presentations and masterclasses. And yes, definitely let us know what you've put into action, and we'll choose the best 3, and we'll send you a copy of one of my wonderful books on leadership, which you can grab on site and also through Booktopia and Amazon. And remember to always stay kind and stay courageous. Thank you.